The other day I made a video talking about how the US is one of the only countries in the world that taxes based on citizenship, meaning that if you are an American living abroad, you still need to file US taxes and pay US taxes. And there were a lot of questions, so let's talk about it and clarify some stuff. Just a little disclaimer, I am not an accountant. I have my own accounting team helping me with this because it is very confusing. So if you are an American living abroad, or if you're thinking about moving abroad, please hire an accountant. Please talk to an accountant that can help you with your situation, because this is not a one-shoe-fits-all situation. So like I said in the other video, the US is one of 2 countries in the world that taxes based on citizenship. I said citizenship and not residency. That was a mistake on my part. If you live in the US and you're a resident of the US, you still have to pay taxes. But the US is one of the 2 countries in the world that also taxes based on citizenship. Meaning, again, if you are an American living abroad, you still need to file US taxes. However, this doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be paying double taxes. The US has tax treaties set up with different countries that does a lot of different things, but a big part of what they do is they help Americans living abroad avoid paying double taxes. And there's a couple of different ways they do this. One of them is the foreign earned income exclusion, and then also the foreign tax credit. The foreign earned income tax exclusion is what this comment is talking about, which basically means that there is a limit to how much income that you make abroad per year. For an example purpose, let's say it's under 120K. So if you make under 120K per year, you are essentially not double taxed. However, let's say you make 140K, like this comment is talking about, then that extra 20K is taxed by the US government as normal. Then there is also the foreign tax credit, which is a different type of thing, and it basically means that the IRS gives you a tax credit for the taxes that you have paid to the foreign government of the country that you're living in, so that essentially that then applies to your taxes in the US so that you're not paying double taxes. However, no matter how much you make, even if it's like $5, you still need to report your income abroad to the IRS and still file your US taxes, which is where it gets really confusing because it's a lot of paperwork, it's a lot of forms. It's really just best to get an accountant that is very well versed in the taxes of your home country and the country that you're living in. So if you're an American and wanting to live abroad, don't get worried off by it. There are a lot of different ways that you can basically not be double taxed. It's a lot trickier, and it's really just good to get somebody that can do it for you. Something else interesting though is that the US requires every American abroad who has a foreign bank account to report how much money they have in that foreign bank account at the end of the year. But it's not you that has to do it, it's the bank that has to do it. So at the end of the year, the bank has to fill out a bunch of different forms for all of their American clients to report and send to the US how much money is in that bank account. Anyway, the only way to avoid having to do all of this as an American living abroad is to renounce your citizenship, which, like I was saying in the last video, is not really that easy. It's really expensive. It's like $2,500 to renounce your citizenship. You have to go through a really long interview process, and apparently they can deny your renouncing your citizenship, and they do it if they think that you're renouncing your citizenship in order to avoid paying taxes, which is kind of crazy. Either way though, I know a lot of people were saying to renounce your citizenship on that last video. I don't ever plan on renouncing my citizenship. I don't know if it's as easy as just renouncing it. I think, especially from like a mental, emotional place, like, it's a big deal. That's where you come from. That's who you are in a way, those are your people. But I can understand somebody who is like an accidental American, meaning somebody who was born in the foreign land to an American parent, and so therefore they are American by right, but maybe they've never lived in the US, they don't ever plan on living in the US, they don't really feel American. I can understand why somebody would want to, renounce their citizenship in that way. Of course, at the end of the day, you can do whatever you want, but I don't know if it's as easy as just renouncing. I think it's a lot bigger of a decision than maybe you might think. Anyway, all that being said, there's a lot of different aspects that come into it, a lot of different things that you can do depending on where you're living, what the tax treaty is set up, what your job situation is like, your income situation. There's a lot of different things. So if you want to live abroad, don't let it scare you. Living abroad is wonderful. It's so worth it. Just make sure that you have the right people, the right counsel, everything to kind of help guide you through these really complicated process, because they're really complicated. Yeah, it's a lot of things to consider, but it's so worth it. At least to me it is. US just be a little crazy sometimes.